Great. Oh my gosh, so exciting.
Okay.
Take a deep breath.
There we go. It's closer.
Remember, this is super low key.
Oh, yeah.
Ready for your close-up?
Don't do a close up, please. This is my bad side, just for the record.
Me too.
Oh, why don't we switch sides?
Switch.
This is just where I sit, you know?
Hi, y'all. Welcome to Hustle Humbly. It's Alissa and Katy, and we are two top producing realtors in the Baton Rouge market.
We work for two different companies where we should be competitors, but we have chosen community over competition.
The goal of our podcast is to encourage you to find your own way in business.
So stop comparing yourself and start embracing your strengths.
Hi, all. It's all about closings. This is episode 32. We're happy to have you here to learn all about closings.
And it's kind of nice because Katy and I just had a closing together. Yesterday. So we can just talk about the closing process.
I know. It's so fresh in our mind.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's fresh in our mind with each other.
But we have lots of stories, fun facts,
Yes.
good reminders.
I'm hoping that this episode...
Set the timer.
Timer's on. I'm hoping that this episode will work for agents, but also maybe for consumers who are just like, what's going to happen
Sure.
at this closing? Or maybe what are
Like
the
the
tips?
buyer or the seller.
Yeah, exactly. Both sides.
Or the lenders.
Either
or the
way.
title. Whatever
all those people.
they're all going to hear our point of view on closing.
I know. It's a little nerve-wracking.
It is.
I hope we don't say anything wrong.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, all right.
It's
Here
not
we go.
like attorneys are involved or anything.
Right. No attorneys shall be mentioned on this episode.
No,
By
definitely
name
not.
for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this was actually an episode that was requested.
It was.
And I think it is a pretty smart topic because as we started to make notes on it, we had no trouble.
No.
There's so many things you need to know
And
about
I feel
closing.
like, especially like you have closings, you've been doing it a couple years, they kind of become monotonous and
Yeah.
they lose their excitement. They're
Right.
just another thing to go to. But to the person buying or selling, it's still a big deal to them.
And it's scary. They're so nervous.
Yes, and we have to remember that even though we do this often,
all the time.
that it's new to them.
Yeah.
And I struggle with that sometimes.
Yeah.
Like you get busy
Well,
and
you're
you're like,
desensitized to the
I
actual.
got to run to this closing and then I got to run out and I got to go to the next thing. And it's
Yeah.
like, no, this is a big deal to the consumer. And if you're not making them feel special that day,
Yeah, it should feel special.
yeah, even if it's a sad closing
I know,
for
but-
whatever reason,
I know.
you just have to be fully present wherever they
Well,
are.
you just have to be mindful of that too. I just had one last week that was a sad situation, and I had to prep the title office. Like, hey, she made me emotional. I was so glad they did the buyer part before we went in. And when they asked if we wanted to go in, I was like, it's okay if we wait out here. Because it's hard when one side of the transaction is sad and the other is for sure not, like, happy.
Right.
You know, usually
Right.
the buyer is happy.
Yeah.
I mean, in most cases. So I think it's good to keep that in mind when you're like navigating the process.
Mhm.
You want to be, and when I told her that I would be there with her, she was so relieved because she thought she was going to have to navigate that closing alone and she was nervous.
Wow.
And I think buyers feel the same way.
Yeah.
When I've had buyers who are like, oh, you'll be there? And they're so excited. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to be there. So why don't you tell us who else is going to be there at a closing?
Okay. So you have the title attorney or notary that is doing the paperwork.
Right?
Hopefully the listing agent and the selling agent.
Right? Hopefully.
Hopefully
We'll get to that.
the buyer and the seller. And hopefully the mortgage lender.
Right. That's nice.
Yeah, sometimes they come, sometimes they don't.
Sometimes I have a parent come.
Yes, parents come. Sometimes they might have to bring their child.
Right. I've had kids. I've had babies.
Yes.
Look, the room is only so big, so don't bring everyone.
It's not a big party,
But-
and it doesn't take that long. They're always surprised that it only takes like 45 minutes to an hour.
Yeah, and it's going to take even less time, and we're going to talk about that later. It doesn't take that long. Now, I've had closings take 2
Oh
to
my
3
gosh.
hours.
Well, I have a little bit of closing anxiety.
You do?
I do. I don't particularly like closing day.
Okay.
I don't like sitting at the table,
Okay.
small talking with everybody.
Okay.
Then the seller gets nervous
Yeah.
while we're just all waiting on copies and starts,
You're
Oh,
afraid they
don't-
say the wrong thing?
don't worry about that fan in the guest bedroom. You just have to flick the switch like 3 times. And then the buyer's is like, what?
What?
And then you're like, just be quiet. They get nervous, rambling.
I know.
And then sometimes no one's really chatty and you're just all
Oh, God, that's the worst.
sitting there.
Now, you have a take on who should be chatty and when. Tell us. Come on.
I do not think the title attorney needs to stop. They just need to keep doing the paperwork and explaining what they need to explain.
Yes.
Because, it's like when people are eating and they bring the food up to their mouth and then they put it down and tell a story. Yes. And then they bring the food up to their mouth and they put it down and say, and they do that like 3 times. Yes. And you're like, just eat your food.
Right.
Like when an attorney has the papers and
they're in control of the speed of the closing.
And I'm like, I don't like them to drag on. There's no need for it.
No. Well,
I like an efficient title attorney.
I think there's a fine line, too. I don't want them to say nothing because I've had that, too. And then everyone's just as uncomfortable. Yes. I think I want some amount of talking and, like, making people, to make them feel at ease. Let them feel like they can ask questions, but also don't explain every word of every document.
I love when they have at least 1 to 2 sentences to say per page.
I think that's
good.
This
says you are a U.S. citizen. Please sign here.
Yeah.
This says you have allowed us to verify your credit. Please sign here. I'm like, that's perfect because I feel like the buyer understands without having for us to be there for so long.
Do you think that being a good title attorney in the actually proceeding over a closing is a skill set?
100%.
Yeah.
And I think in our marketplace and in all marketplaces, title attorneys do wine and dine and that's fine. But make sure whoever you decide that you choose, it's not just because you like them.
Right.
It's because they are actually legit good at their job.
Right.
Because title issues are not that common, but when they happen,
you need someone good.
I have a story for this.
Okay, well, before you tell it, I agree. I think you want a title attorney you trust. I think you want, if you have a chance to go back to the same one repeatedly, if you like their style, they get through the closing efficiently, they make your buyer or seller feel comfortable.
Yes.
And if you continue to go to the same title attorney, they will be available to you pre-closing, pre-listing on things that might cost your client money to go to an outside attorney.
Yes.
I have had, my favorite title attorney take care of all manner of questions.
So many.
For free and talk my clients through difficult situations or refer them to a succession lawyer if they need it or tell them if they don't even need that. Like you need a title attorney that you can call and ask a question. I've had to call and ask plenty of questions.
Yeah.
So before I started, before I ever had my own closing, I went and watched closings with my broker. Like I would go and sit in. I would be one of the people in the room. So I think that it's good to go see one, and that way you can get a feel for different attorneys too.
And if you're new, some title companies will do mock closings.
They do. That's true.
And you can go, there's no clients there. So they go through the paperwork with you and explain everything.
That's good to have the knowledge.
Yeah.
Okay, tell me your story.
So I was selling a friend of mine's home.
Okay.
She had owned it for a long time before I was in real estate. And so we're under contract, and the title company who had been trying to get my business for a while, but they were handling the closing.
Okay.
And I haven't really used them much.
Okay.
And at first they were like gung-ho, really on top of things until there was a problem.
Okay.
They're back like 3 owners prior. Someone did not sign off on an heir.
Okay.
To this house.
Right.
And they basically told me that she did not have title insurance when she bought it. And they were treating her like, oh, well, you didn't have title insurance.
Like it was her fault.
Like it was her fault. And she goes, I don't even know what title insurance is or why I don't have it. I have no idea what you're talking about, So we had to it took 3 weeks.
Oh, wow.
Of me trying to hunt down an heir.
Oh, no way.
Because they were just like writing us off.
They were like, oh, well.
Yes.
Not going to close.
So, and we were kind of making progress with it.
Oh, wow.
And so I didn't explore other options because I thought it was something I thought would take a few days. And then 3 weeks later, I went, I don't know what to do. So I met with other title company who reviewed the file and said, we have a carrier that will insure this. And they closed it in 2 days.
Oh, my word.
But it just let me know, like, that's the thing. When I was new, you don't realize that there could be title complications.
Right. And you think
really
everyone
need
is created equal.
Yeah. And like sometimes your title company has to be creative to make things work.
Right.
Like I had a client one time who had a special needs child. They fell in love with this house in the Garden District.
Okay.
And they measured the backyard because it was very small backyard to make sure that this huge trampoline would fit because they use it for her therapy.
Okay.
Well, in the title work, it turns out that the fence is encroaching on the neighbor's property by 9 inches.
Okay.
And the neighbor was not willing to let us close with it like this. So they were requiring
the fence to move.
Yes, they wanted us to move the whole fence 9 inches. And I don't remember exactly what happened, but the title attorney drafted up a bunch of different options.
Right.
One option was to purchase 9 inches by 100 feet.
Right. Of their property.
That neighbor's property. And move the fence.
Right.
Do an addendum that says permission from the seller to leave all the options. But like the times that there have been title issues.
Yeah.
You just need someone good in your court.
For sure.
You can't just go with who serves the best party.
Right.
Or lunch or whatever.
Right. Exactly. I love a title office that does education.
Yes.
I mean, that will come and teach, and they're, into what is the current, information that needs to be out there. So I think that's important too.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I have a question. Well, we talked about who was there. Why is it important to be there as an agent?
This is like graduation day.
Right?
This is the day that everybody has been working towards.
Right.
And this is the day that it all comes to an end. And I just think it's important for you to be there.
Okay. I'm going to tell you a story.
I'm ready.
Okay. So I had a transaction that I'm going to try and make this as brief as I can. Basically, I was the listing agent. Things were seeming to go fine. Then the buyer was getting an RD, rural development loan, and it was a point in time in our market where that was getting delayed a lot.
Yes.
So if you didn't submit it and get in line, it might add an additional 15, 20, 30 days to your closing because the RD the office was so backed up and they had to approve those files. Well, my sellers, I learned a lot. I mean, this was not the beginning of my career, but I learned a lot from this transaction. My sellers had packed it up. Because we thought we were closing in within a week. So they had packed it up. They were still there. They were about to move, or they were in the process of moving. And the house where they were going wasn't going to be ready for 2 weeks. So they had arranged to stay with a friend, put their stuff in storage. And then all of a sudden, 3 days before closing, if that, in fact, it wasn't. It was 2 days before closing, I asked the agent when they were going to come do the final walkthrough. And she said, well, I mean, we're not closing for I don't know. It just went to RD. And let me just guess, because I can't remember, but it was backed up at least 15 days. Okay. So she said, well, it's going to be another 2 weeks at least.
What if you hadn't checked in about the final walkthrough? When was she going to tell you?
That's what I said. When were you going to tell me that we weren't even closing in 2 days? So my poor lady. And I said, hey, by the way, my lady would have loved to stay in her house 2 extra weeks because her place isn't ready for 2 weeks. But now she's all packed up and sleeping on a friend's couch.
Oh my gosh.
This is bananas. So I'm, of course, upset. And we basically negotiate for the buyer to pay for the storage. Okay. So the 2 weeks of storage or whatever, let's just say it ended up being near $500 to move out and store and whatever. Okay, fine. Buyer will take care of it. This is where I also learned a lesson. There was an extension because the buyer needed an extension.
Sure.
And then there was an addendum because I needed my seller to be made whole for this travesty.
Right.
So there was an addendum for the $500 and there was an extension. I send them both over to the agent who says they're going to sign. They only signed the extension and sent it back. And I, in the midst of so much, didn't even realize or notice that she only sent one back.
Oh, wow.
She had no intentions of having that buyer. And I don't know what.
So you could have said, sign the addendum and then you'll get your extension.
Exactly. I only had leverage as long as I needed to sign the extension. And I should have been and so I learned not to trust people. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, you have to always be looking out.
Right. So we had this yesterday. I'm I don't think y'all are lying, but please sign this addendum. Because I can't. So I learned, but this is where we get back to closing. The agent did not come to closing. When it finally happened, not only did she not come to closing, she did not send another agent or her broker. I have never sent a client to a closing without someone from my office.
Oh my gosh.
Someone needs to be there. So she doesn't show up. Well, guess what? I see on the settlement statement that our $500 repair allowance isn't on there. That's supposed to go to the buyer.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? you owed me $500 and you tricked me.
Right.
So I just didn't bring it up.
No.
It's not on here. It's a benefit to my seller.
Yeah.
I'm letting it slide.
Because they had agreed. They just wouldn't sign.
Within an hour of that closing, this agent was blowing up my phone. Well, you need to give us the repair allowance. The buyer didn't get the repair allowance. And I was like, well, you weren't at closing. You didn't check the settlement statement. And you said that they were going to pay us the $500 for storage, and they didn't. So it looks like a wash to me.
Right. We're breaking even here.
Hey, guess what?
Yeah.
But you know who lost? Well, I mean, the buyer lost because,
Right.
I mean, but really it worked out fine.
It was a wash. Yeah.
It was a wash. But she was threatening to sue me.
Fine.
She was, and I mean, I had pages of text. She wouldn't let it. And I was like, this is insane, but it could have all been avoided on her end.
If she would have came to closing.
Because she got me. That addendum wasn't signed. Technically, my seller needed to pay the repair allowance, and I didn't have anything in writing saying the buyer was going to pay the $500. But
that was the agreement.
that was the agreement.
And they took advantage.
And they said they were going to sign it. But either way, she didn't come to closing.
Wow.
So that was my, you must go to closing.
Mhm.
That's also my, you must get everything in writing.
Yes.
You just can't trust. Sometimes it's honest mistake, and sometimes people have malicious intent.
There are some agents that have the mentality that that's not an income producing activity, like being at closing.
I
Like
think
you
that's
should. It's
crazy.
so stupid. Like you have to be there for your clients. It's relationship building. It's how you get referrals.
Well, right. And you sit there at closing, the happiest day for them typically, and they tell you all the wonderful things they're going to do about their house. And you're building that relationship on a very special day for them.
There was an agent that had been reaching out to me and was like, I want to do your numbers. I want to meet you and I want to do what you do, blah, blah, blah. Well, then we had a transaction together and I was like, no wonder.
Oh, wow.
The numbers are not so good over there. You're just spinning your wheels. You're not paying any attention to the
your
client.
clients.
So he told me, see you at closing. He scheduled the final walkthrough through showing time.
Right.
I asked him to get my lockbox. He said, sure. Well, the buyers show up to closing and he's not with
there.
them. And I said, hey, is he coming? And they said, well, we don't know. He left the key under the mat for us so that we could do the final walkthrough.
He didn't even
meet them there. Something came up. He said something came up, but you can see the look on their face.
They were lost,
confused, disappointed in the agent.
Yeah.
And then I texted the agent and was like, hey, I guess you're not coming to closing. Did you get my lockbox?
Wait, what are you going to do with that?
Oh, no. He just went and put the key under the mat. And so I had to go to the house and get the lockbox. It just left even if things had gone well the whole time, which it didn't, that would have just ended things on a bad note. And that would have eliminated the opportunity to get referrals right there. Like every transaction is an opportunity to get referrals.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. So, but we also haven't talked about this. We are coming at this from our Louisiana, sometimes weird laws, and we call it a closing. I read that it can be called closing of escrow. Some people call it completion. Some people call it settlement. So in different markets, it's called different things.
Oh.
I always like when I see on TV, especially I think in California, they're like, we're in escrow.
You're like, we're pending.
Yeah, that's not something we say here. We're not in escrow. But I did want to mention one of my pet peeves.
Okay.
When people say they sold their house.
Oh.
But they just got it under contract.
Yes, like your offer's been accepted, and they're like, the house sold.
Yeah, they put it all over social media. My house sold. I'm like, until you go to that closing and everyone signs and you hand keys to each other, that house is not sold. I mean, someone could die.
Yeah, a lot can happen.
So I mean, like that actually has happened.
Jobs are lost, inspections, appraisals.
Yeah, right, you bought a car, a loan no longer approved.
Wow.
I mean, like you cannot say you sold your house, but I think it's like the consumer doesn't know the difference.
They don't.
But I'm always nervous. I'm like, oh my gosh, do not go post on social media that you sold your house because then what are we going to do if it goes back on the market?
Right.
That's confusing.
Just kidding.
Also, you are selling a house. A house is for sale. And then you'll see some posts where they use the terminology sale wrong.
What? I've never heard of this.
Yeah, oh my gosh. I'll go find one for you later. But either way, peeps.
What did you say?
No, the word sale and sell, using them interchangeably.
Oh, like my house is for sale?
Like I am sailing a house. Well, you're
this is the
selling
English
a house.
major coming out in you about this.
Like it bothers me, but sold is really about you got to go to closing.
Yeah. Okay. I have a note in here about why it's important to choose your title company.
Okay.
And I think that
As
the consumer either.
You want to try and choose it either way.
Yes, as the buyer or the seller.
I love it. How do you handle
listing
that?
agent. Okay. I have become more listing heavy every year in the business.
Mhm.
So less buyers, more listings.
Right.
It just is the natural progression of how things work.
Typically, yeah.
And I'm at the mercy
Right.
of the lender, who I didn't get to pick, the title company, and the other agent.
Yeah.
Some are good, some are bad.
Agree.
So if I can't control who the lender is,
right,
and I can't control who the other agent is,
right,
in every single counteroffer that I have as a listing agent, I put closing to take place at ABC title. Example.
Whatever it is.
Yeah, whatever title, because I need to have some skin in the game.
Right, so you can find out what's really going on.
So if the lender goes MIA and the agent isn't giving me updates, maybe the lender receiving a call from an attorney asking for an update.
Right, will work.
And I need to know that I have an attorney in my what do you call
it? In your corner.
I need an attorney in my corner that if things go radio silence, they are also calling for updates and doing the things. But that's really, like, as a listing agent, that's really the only piece you can control.
So you only do that, though, if you're writing a counter. If you're accepting an offer as written, do you go to the length of...
I just can't think of the last time I accepted, but I guess if that was the only thing...
Yeah.
It depends on who the other agent is and who the lender is. If I haven't heard of either, we might counter
just that.
I
think that's fair.
Or have the discussion. Like, I may ask the agent, hey, do you mind if we close here? So it's just the only thing I can do that gives me some control over the transaction.
I like that. It makes sense, too.
Yeah.
You need somebody who's going to help you out.
Well, the hardest part of being listing heavy is when deals fall through or when things go south and you have to make those phone calls to your sellers. And I have been through too many poor lenders and poor buyer's agents that they don't do a good job, and the pre-approval letter actually meant nothing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And the buyer's agent has another job and dropped the ball, and I have to make the devastating phone call. So at least I need someone to help me monitor it so I don't feel so alone representing the seller.
Yeah.
Not that the title company does not represent buyer or seller. They don't represent anybody. They're just there to
represent the bank.
Yes, they're just there to do the closing. Yeah. But it's nice having someone you can call and say, have you received the documents that you need?
Well, they're trying to get to the same goal you are, which is close the sale.
Right.
They got to do it.
Mm-hmm.
It's here.
The email template class course is here.
Class course, all those things. The templates are here.
We have put a lot of work and effort into making this course, and we are just really excited to release it to you because it's all the information you will need. It should make your business streamline so well.
Yes.
And it's all editable. So you can make each template sound like it was written by you for your clients. Yes. You can add your logo to it. Brand it to yourself. Mm-hmm. And it's just going to be life-changing.
Yeah, we're going to answer your logistical questions on how to store a template, how to use the template, what on earth do you need a template for, how do you come up with the ones that maybe you need for your market that we didn't do, and it will change the efficiency and the consistency of your business.
Yes, it's going to save you so much time. And now they are officially finished.
Done.
And you can go purchase them. Where do they go get them?
Oh, they're going to just have to go to hustlehumblypodcast.com.
Perfect.
You'll see where to get it there. And if you don't, I guess let us know.
Yeah, perfect. I like it.
Awesome.
I'm so excited.
I'm very excited.
This has been a long time coming.
Yes, and we had a lot of fun editing and making sure the templates had everything they needed and tried to think of everything you need to cover your bases.
Perfect. I hope you enjoy them.
I'm going to enjoy them. Okay, bye. Bye. Okay, I want to talk about when you do close. Like, when do you close? If you're writing an offer, what is like a standard? You would say 30 days, right?
I try to do 30 days.
Yeah. Okay. If it's a different type of loan, is there any time when or some situation you might do more?
So before I ever even write an offer, I email the lender asking for estimated closing costs, a total monthly note at that price, and what I should put if 30 days is okay for closing. Majority
I like
of
that.
the time, they send me all that information at once. So when I write the offer, I know how much to ask for in closing costs, what the closing date should be.
Okay, what about a cash buyer? Do you do it shorter?
Yes, I try to do 12 days.
Yeah. So like a title company and a closing can be handled in that amount of time.
Yeah, I think one time they told me they need like 4 to 5 days.
Yeah.
Business days.
That's not bad. Okay, that's good to know. The other thing I wanted to mention is when I started selling real estate, TRID and the laws with the 3-day closing disclosure didn't exist.
Same.
So, great.
I guess it's national.
I think, it's a federal law.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So, I don't know how it's imposed in other places, but you could get to the day of closing and then all of a sudden they would be like, oh, no, not going to close.
Before TRID, there are too many times where at the closing table, we were sitting there for hours waiting on lender docs or final.
Yeah.
It was crazy to think we operated that way.
We fussed when it started, I think, because change is hard.
And a 3-day wait period, that's going to make closings take longer. But no, it just makes you meet your deadline.
Well, right. And if I know 3 days in advance there's a problem, guess what? Maybe I didn't move to the, somewhere else or pack up the truck and think I'm closing the next day. Oh, I've had clients before who had to leave all their stuff in the truck and go stay in a hotel over the week. Or what are they going to do? Pay for storage. It's just crazy.
I love TRID.
I love it too. I think
it has made things go smoother for everybody.
I agree. It's just getting it done. So you can't procrastinate.
Yeah,
and lenders have to get it done.
So if you're new in real estate, a few years ago, there was no 3-day waiting period. You could just clear to close. How fast can you get to the title company?
You could go that day.
Sometimes that day. And now the federal law requires you to have a 72-hour waiting period.
After your buyer signs
After your buyer has reviewed the closing disclosure. You have to wait 3 days. And it has been amazing.
It's great. They do count Saturday as a business day.
Oh, good.
So
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and some lenders, I've seen lenders who had a handy little chart that would say, if you got your closing disclosure, your CD on X day, then you can close on this day. So if you got it on Tuesday, you can close on Friday or whatever it is. But it is so nice.
That is nice.
It's very helpful. Okay, well, so that's a change that's happened in the closings. What else do you think and see as the future of a closing?
Well, just yesterday at ours, the majority of the documents had already been signed electronically because that's allowed.
Well, so what was cracking me up, though, it was like one of the first times the lender had used that system. So my buyers were telling me, oh, well, this can't be that much, right? We signed all that stuff online. And I'm thinking in my head, well, you signed like your closing disclosure, but that's not everything. I'm like, girl, you better get your pen ready. You got to sign a whole bunch of stuff. Oh my
gosh.
And she was like, oh my gosh, really? Okay. Well, when we sit down and the lender was there, the lender showed up after the title attorney had started. So he was going through all these printed documents that had their e-signed signature on it and making them sign their names next to it.
He didn't realize it counted?
Yeah, well, because it was a new thing. So the lender, when she showed up, she's like, well, wait a minute, you don't need to do all that. And so then he stopped. But it was cracking me up because they had signed 66 pages online, like that morning or the day before.
Oh my gosh.
So they had just done it.
This is why it's important for the lender to be there.
Yeah, I think they had done it that morning. But the point is, closing is going to shrink in time, and then somewhere down the road, it will go away completely, and you'll won't e-sign.
Everything. How crazy is that?
I know. Isn't that strange?
They say the transition may be that you still have to video, like conference call,
like a Skype
or something. Yeah, but it's
still.
I wonder how long until it's all electronic and there is no closing.
I know. It's very interesting.
Very.
I would miss the closing a little bit.
Yeah.
Like you said, you're building that relationship.
So when I realized how much I was not enjoying the closing table, which is horrible to say, I don't know why I'm this way. I think it's that I found I didn't like just sitting there.
You want to be doing something more efficient.
So I started doing things at the closing table.
Okay, I might have an opinion on this. What type of things are you doing?
I put them in my database.
Okay, but you're like using your phone kind of on the DL.
Yeah, while they're signing, I'm making sure I have the legal address that's on the closing papers in my database.
Love it.
And I might even pull out my phone and say, okay, I need to add y'all to my database. So they know I'm not like playing on Instagram while I'm
doing work related to you.
And then
That's smart.
Yes. And then I update. I have a list of all my pendings. I delete it.
Okay.
And I move it over to closed.
Love it.
And
is that in Trello that you're doing that?
Yes.
Love it.
So I do that. I move it over to closed. And then, okay, I don't do this, but somebody told me that they did this, and I thought it would be a good idea. But anyways, at the closing table, they bring an envelope with a stamp, and they, at the closing table, address it to their client, and they make a copy of the closing disclosure, and they mail all the documents January 5th and say, may need this for your taxes.
Right. Well, right.
So if you do it at every closing, it doesn't take, there is no like overhaul.
You're not building up a big task.
Okay, you're going to laugh at this.
What?
At every closing, so last year I realized, 90 closings. My goal is to drink 1 bottle of water at every single closing.
Oh, it's a health goal.
It's a health goal.
Connected to, I love that.
Yeah, because then think about it. If you have 30 closings a year, you drank 30 bottles of water that you wouldn't have otherwise.
Right. I mean, I always do drink the water.
I do too.
That is amazing.
Isn't that funny?
Health and business.
I know.
Love it.
I just needed to make better use of my time.
Like if I'm trapped here for an hour, I'm going to drink a bottle of water.
I'm going to drink a bottle of water.
Update my database.
Update my database. Check a few things off the list for this transaction.
That's great.
Yeah, I try to,
Okay, I typically bring a client survey with me that I let them fill in, like their, how do you want to be contacted, birthdays, or stuff that maybe I don't know yet. Sometimes I find I already have most of it, so I don't really need a lot. But I also have at the bottom, if they want to write their testimonial then, they can put it on the back, and then I type it up for them and send it in an email later so that they can post it on Zillow or Realtor.com or Facebook or whatever.
Wow.
I also have that digital, like in an email template, where after closing, I send it to them and say, well, if they didn't write the testimonial on the paper.
I feel awkward if they didn't write anything on the paper when I was like, hey, here's the paper.
Look, no one has ever come to closing with me real mad.
No, but I just mean that, like,
if they're like distracted and doing stuff and they write most of it, I'm like, hey, I can also email you for that testimonial. And they'll be like, okay, great, that would work. I mean, it's not like weird. I'm like, right now, you must do this. But
some lenders have that in their package. I think it's so weird.
It's a little awkward. I agree. Okay, what do you as an agent bring to closing?
The deposit check. And? My phone.
And? That's it?
Yeah.
You bring a gift.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. I forgot about that.
Yes. Okay. A gift. I bring the survey sometimes. A termite certificate it's
been emailed.
See, but I just started getting them an email. If I've gotten one where it was like at the
But even if it wasn't emailed, you have to scan it to the lender so they have it.
Yes. Okay. Well, I used to bring it.
Yeah, sure.
Sometimes I still bring it. Deposit check's important. What is the buyer bringing with them?
ID, updated form of ID.
I remind them to do that.
Their cashier's check made out to the title company.
Okay. That's it.
That's it, right?
It's pretty easy.
Yeah.
I've had to remind them about the ID because I have had someone show up with an expired license.
Oh my gosh.
And we kind of had to like, please help us.
Oh no.
And like the title company was kind of like, ooh, you got to have a
updated
current ID.
Right. We can't just let anybody buy a house.
We made it through. The seller, what's the seller bringing? Keys.
Garage door openers. Storage shed keys.
Oh, yeah. All the keys.
Mailbox keys.
All the keys. Oh, like pass cards to like a gate or the, facility.
HOA contact information.
Yeah. Alarm code. Like if you've got a burglar alarm, you got to know what the number is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Keys. Garage door openers. I laugh when I get a purchase agreement where the agent writes in garage openers.
I've been getting that so much.
I think it's because they've been burned before.
Yep.
And they'll put in 2 because I think also this will happen. The seller will show up with 1 and be like, I don't know where the other one is. We programmed the other car.
Right.
We never used it.
You can program your own car.
But here are things that have to stay in the house that have had sellers had to go get. Like the gas key for the fireplace.
Oh my gosh, someone took that?
I guess. I think sometimes it just happens on accident,
Yeah.
You got to leave that behind. And your garage openers. Okay.
I have, in our templates, we have a template for preparing for closing that goes to seller and buyer. But I like that one because it's just all the things that you have to do and think about leading up to closing. Yeah. Transferring utilities, changing your mailbox.
Yeah.
And I ask my sellers, please write a note to the new buyers. If you know your neighbors, share the names of who the neighbors are with them. And also, like, who does your yard? Maybe they need a recommendation. Do you have a housekeeper? Anything that pertains to the house that might be helpful.
Yeah.
I just ask them to write it all down.
I've had sellers who had to give pool school
Oh,
You said when the buyers never had a pool?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, here, let me show you.
Let me do pool school.
That's awesome.
So sometimes you got to do that during the final walk, though, because you really need to see that in person.
Yeah.
You can't. Okay, that brings up final walkthroughs.
Okay.
I think this is kind of hand in hand with your closing. When do you do your final walkthrough?
I try to do it within 24 hours.
Agree. I want to make sure they've moved out
Mm-hmm.
because it's very difficult to do it well with stuff still there. It
probably should be better to do it 48 hours because if you go right before closing and they're not moved out, what are you going to do?
This is the problem. This is where we have problems.
Yeah.
And I've also had some issues where if there's a long list of repairs or some that if I haven't received all the receipts, a good 5 days before closing, I might have to do a double walk. Like I got to go and make sure these repairs are done. And then we're going to come back when you're moved out and just make sure everything's kosher.
Yes.
What do you check for on a walkthrough?
I check repairs.
Yep.
Make sure utilities are on, water.
Yep.
Electricity, gas.
Right.
If it's not on, you just kind of have to figure out what you want to do with that. Yeah. I just walk through and make sure nothing was damaged in the move out.
Yeah. I usually still flush a toilet and run some sinks and just check underneath, make sure nothing's leaking, especially if the seller's been out for a few days. Something could have happened while they weren't there.
Yeah.
What else do you check?
But that's why I like to negotiate things with money.
I know.
Because they could show up and be like, well, we don't like how they fixed this.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
I don't like it at all.
A repair allowance is far superior than the seller actually doing repairs.
Yes.
On both sides.
Yes. Then they can control, the buyer, the new owner can control how they want the work done on their house.
Yes, for sure. I think that's true. So you definitely, when you walk through, want to check things. I have a walkthrough story.
Okay.
Was
it about yesterday?
No. No, but do you want me to tell a story about yesterday?
No, it don't matter.
Okay,
I mean, you can. I don't care.
This is not what I'm telling about. Okay, so yesterday was fine for the record, people.
Yeah.
I had a buyer.
Okay.
With a particularly difficult seller. Just hadn't been very nice during the transaction. I mean, to the point of was like present during the inspection and almost wouldn't let us come inside.
Oh my gosh.
It was just really weird. And I don't know why they were moving and I didn't know a lot about them, but they were just not happy. Okay. Well, on the day of closing, we are going for the final walkthrough because they did not get out any time before that. So we were pretty much forced to do it then. Well, when we showed up, the pool was green.
Oh, no.
It was green.
He had stopped maintaining it?
And the agent was present at the walkthrough. I don't know if he was just coming to get his lockbox or if he just knew there was going to be trouble, but he was there. And he didn't stop maintaining it. The pool pump had broken and he had to order a part. And the part didn't come in until the day or a couple of days before.
Tricky.
And he repaired it. However, it hadn't been repaired long enough and, like chemicals and whatever they needed to do to get the pool back to blue and clean.
Right.
Well, first of all, we were never told that the pool pump broke. So
that's a surprise.
We probably could have avoided some of this if 3 days prior or a week or whenever it stopped. Hey, listen, the pool pump has broken. We had to order a part. It's going to come in. Just wanted to keep you, aware of the situation. Well, we're surprised by this green pool. And I'm like, and the buyer's like, I'm not buying this house with the broken pool. And I'm like, of course, the agent's there saying, no worries, man. It's clean. It's going to be fine. It's fixed now. Okay, we got the part. The pool's fixed. And but we don't know that it's fixed because we can't see that it's working properly because
the pool is green.
The pool is green. And the agent got kind of feisty with us and was like, well, you're not buying pool water. You're buying this house. And I'm like, in this pool, you're not buying pool water. It doesn't matter what color the water is. And I said, I'm sorry. I am most certainly buying pool water in the appropriate condition. Just like if I showed up here and the grass was a foot tall, I would say,
cut the grass.
You got to cut this grass. It's considered keeping your house maintained because in our contract in Louisiana, it says that the seller has to keep the house in the same condition as when you wrote the offer.
Mm-hmm.
Well, when I wrote the offer, the pool was blue.
Right.
So we basically him and haw and fuss, and we find the pool inspector who had come say he would come and clean it and make sure to shock it and get it right, and he felt confident it would be okay for $250.
Great.
So basically, we're like, the seller needs to pay the $250 for us to get the pool cleaned, or else we'll just wait and close once it turns blue.
Sure.
Well, the seller couldn't wait because they were buying another house that day.
Oh my gosh.
So we had all the leverage. And I'm like, hey, we don't mind waiting.
Yeah,
we'll wait until Monday when the pool is clean.
You need the word of the professional, not the seller, not the listing agent. If it's a pool issue, you need the pool guy to tell you the pool is fine.
Right. So I'm like, look, here's the good news. We'll close today, but we want the $250 to have the pool guy come back and take a look at it. And we want to write an addendum that says if something is found wrong with the pool, the seller is going to remedy it. Okay. So begrudgingly, they agree, but the seller was only willing to pay $200 of the $250, and I looked at the
Oh my gosh!
I'm not kidding.
You should have just told him it was $300.
My buyer walks away, is on the phone with his wife. He's like so upset. I looked at that agent and I said, "You will pay the $50, or we're going to figure it out." He's like, "Well, I'm like, fine, I will split." But see, my buyer did not want me to pay a penny towards it.
Right.
And I said, "Look. Fine, I'll split the $50 with you, but we're not going to tell the buyer that I'm paying this $25. Well, this is the craziest closing one of the craziest ones I ever had. So, okay, we've got the $250. The buyer's feeling fine about it. I'm like, bring cash to closing for this money for the pool. They show up. We do our part first because I'm the buyer. And the title attorney who I had a relationship with, which I'm so happy, knew the story, knew what was going on, and that there was some animosity happening here and that we had this crazy pool story. So when I said he's supposed to be giving us $250, and the title attorney said, "Don't worry, I got this." So he goes out. He goes to get the money. He brings it in. He brings the seller in, and the seller refuses to shake my buyer's hand.
Oh my gosh.
It was
Get
so
over it.
Bizarre.
That's so silly.
Over the pool was green. Like, it wasn't even like we said, oh, something nitpicky, like,
yeah,
there's touch-up paint that needs, it was like the pool was green.
Yeah, like, how do we know if it's okay? That's a big expense.
That was a crazy closing. Before he brought in the seller, the attorney, though, did put my buyer's mind at ease a little, and I was cracking up. He was telling a story of a fist fight that had broken out during a closing.
Oh my, for real?
Yeah.
Wow.
So I guess it can get kind of tense.
Yeah, it certainly can. I've certainly had, closings where we did not see each other at all.
No, I've been in separate rooms. Hey, that's a good tip, guys. If you have a really bad situation, just do it in separate rooms.
Yeah, it's not a big deal.
And I think in some states, they always do it in separate rooms. It's not an option to sit together. Now, I think we both agree we like the sitting together so that you can ask the seller some questions. You can, get the keys and kind of, it's nice for everyone to have like a clean break and be like, I'm leaving, and, it's emotional.
Yeah.
So I think that's good.
So closing is over. Okay. Now what?
Well, before you go, I want you to tell everyone what you give as a closing gift, because agents love to get ideas on this.
If it's the seller and it's a happy closing, they loved the house and they're not, I hate the house, get rid of it.
Right.
I get the professional pictures in a book.
I love this.
I get it done at Walgreens.
Oh, yeah, okay.
It costs about $15 and it looks really nice.
It looks really, you brought one yesterday.
Yeah, and it has all of their because the house looks the best on picture day.
No doubt.
And why not do something with these pictures you paid for? So I have a listing right now where it's a succession, and this was her mom's house.
Yeah.
I'm doing it for her so she can remember mom's house,
I think that's a great gift for a seller.
And
I'm always confused on a seller, especially when they're not necessarily happy.
Yeah.
I'm not going to bring champagne.
I just feel like this is something they can keep. It's a good investment. Yep. They'll remember it. They'll say my realtor gave it to me. It sits on the coffee table or on a bookshelf. Like,
that's cute.
Yeah. And then it's just fun to give. And then if they are a buyer, they get a like painted or drawn picture of the house. You can find anyone on Etsy or something that will do that.
My favorite buyer gift is the return address stamp.
I love that.
When you give it to them, it's the whole stamp and it stamps the words "thank you," and there's a code inside of it, and then they get on the website and they pick whatever they want their return address to say, whatever font, whatever they want their initial, their whole name.
They just enter the code,
and then in the mail it's going to come, and they just switch out the part of the stamp, and then there they go.
That's cool.
Stamp it up.
Yeah.
That's a good one. It usually is well received.
I just don't want to try to think and be creative and
Every
pick out
time
a gift.
it's hard.
No, I just need a go-to.
Yeah, I agree. Because I keep them like in my house. Well, now yours you're going to have to do per
Well, like if
transaction.
it's a landlord selling one of his 50 rental properties, I don't do anything. I just say thank you.
I don't either for all sellers.
I write them a thank you note.
Always.
Yeah.
Everyone gets a thank you
Everybody
note.
gets a thank you
Well,
note.
that's a great segue. What do you do after closing?
They get a after closing email
Okay.
reminding them of all the things they were told at closing.
Right.
Homestead exemption, change your, because this will probably be the third time I've told them these things. I told them leading up.
Right.
We discussed it at the closing table, and here's just your reminder to transfer that termite certificate into your name. I asked them, I say, I hope that you had a great experience. I loved working with you. If you have any friends or family, I promise to, treat them like family and do a great job for them. I would appreciate your referrals. And then please leave a review on this website.
I like it.
And then they also get a thank you note in the mail.
Yes, everyone gets a note.
And then they're added to my database.
Yes.
And I friend request them on social media.
Okay, but you don't do that prior to closing.
No, I wait until we're done closing.
Okay.
And then unless we did not mesh well and I don't want to put them in my database.
Then
I don't. Then I don't.
That's
and
okay.
I just let it go.
And we've said that before.
Yeah, not every person.
You still send the thank you note.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, another thing I do is if, say, their aunt or their mom or their dad or their friend came, I ask them for, hey, can you send me your mom's address? I wanted to send her a thank you note.
Yeah.
They send it to me.
I like that.
I add mom to database. Mom gets a note saying, you must be so proud of Sarah for buying her first home. Yep. Thank you so much for coming to the house and seeing it before closing. I know your opinion meant so much to her.
I love that.
Lots of praise.
Love it.
And it has a business. If there's anything I can do for you, please let me know.
Yeah.
Business card.
Love it. That's so
and now
great.
that mom is in my database and gets Christmas cards and mail out.
So you just have her address. Do you need an email in your database, or that's not important?
I don't.
You just want the street address.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
I think that's good. Oh, that's great. That's a good tip.
Anybody that came.
Love it.
Gets the boss. I've had bosses come see the house.
There is a post-closing practice that I like that I wish I implemented more. Sometimes I'll get a thank you note from the co-oping realtor.
Oh, I do that. Did you get mine?
I like that.
Oh, it's too late. Never mind. We just closed yesterday. You're going to get one.
I haven't received it yet, Alissa.
I forgot we closed yesterday.
I am anxiously awaiting my thank you note.
You'll have to tell me what you think of my stationery.
I can't wait to see it. So I like that. Practice is good. Post-closing. Okay. Yeah. If it's my listing, sometimes in my postcard series, I'm sending a postcard to the neighborhood. It just kind of depends on if I'm doing that.
I used to do that, and I think I haven't
done it in a while.
I know. Well, we used to have it automatic.
Oh, yeah.
And now it's not, and I just haven't.
So you don't.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, if I'm like if I've sold a couple in that neighborhood, maybe.
Yeah.
But.
Okay, great. All right. Well, you know what I think we should do for a toast today?
What?
I want to toast. Do you want to toast a title attorney?
Can we do that?
Why not?
Okay.
I mean, do you want to not say a name?
We'll say name and we'll just leave companies out.
I think that's fine.
This will be a great person.
Well, I agree. I think we're thinking of the same person.
We have to be.
And we know that maybe she's a good supporter of the podcast.
She's a fan.
She's a fan.
Yay.
Okay, let's do it.
Okay.
Say it.
Nikki Beeson.
Yay, Nikki. We love you. You take good care of us.
She's so smart.
She always answers my questions. She's super smart. She's great with clients. And she does an awesome job as a title attorney.
She does.
So if you need to learn about how to be a good title attorney, go to one of her closings. Very good. Okay, cheers to Nikki.
Cheers to Nikki.
Yay! All right, bye, friends.
Thank you so much for tuning in to the Hustle Humbly podcast. Let us know who we should toast to for the next episode.
Be sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Hustle Humbly Podcast. If you have an episode, topic, or question, please email us at hustlehumblypodcast@gmail.com.
Be sure to subscribe to the podcast and leave a review. See you next week. Bye.
This is the good life.